Well, hello, hello, hello. This is Happy Valley Hobbies, and these are hobbies that make me happy. I think this is the first time I actually almost hit it right to the second of starting the live stream. Um, but it's one of those things that with live streams, it's sometimes not that, I'm trying to think now, not that scheduled that specifically that yeah, I think unless you're a professional TV, cable, stream setup, and all that, probably are not that way. All right, hello there, Andy. Thank you for coming in. The interesting stream you had this morning. There are some things that I don't realize with British Railways. I was actually half tempted to put into the chat that you had a light out on one of the locomotives, and I was like, well, wait a minute, they don't have, I want to say, headlights. I guess they're called something along the lines of code lights or something like that, depending on where the headlights are and all that. It's not really to light up the track. Hello there, Dwight. Thank you for coming in. They're not really, I guess they're not really the light up the lights, but to basically let people know what the trains are, I guess. They use different lights for day and night. Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, it's things are different in Britain, which is okay. I just don't know the whole, I guess, procedure of how things work. That's why I guess you wind up with it's weird but fun. Oh yeah, well if you know what's going on, it probably is. That's why, from what I understand, that's what I always thought. It was odd that Thomas the Tank Engine only had one light in his offside. It's like, why not put it in the top where it belongs? And not realizing that they don't use headlights because, from what I understand, they usually, over in Britain, they actually cut off the rails. There's, you can't really get onto the tracks. Whereas the United States, that's why the United States also, had cow catchers for the longest time, because, to keep the cows, would go on the tracks. Whereas I guess over in Britain, everything is roped off so the cows or any animals or even people can get on the track. It's hard to get on the track, so they don't need headlights to make sure that they can see where they're going, because there should be no one there. But yeah, actually, Anfield Road layout, actually, yep, everything is fenced. Which I would think that, it winds up adding more detail along the track, but at the same time, yeah, except for rail workers, because, well, they need to fix the rail. So yeah, that's why I think with some of the some of the older crossings that I've seen, usually we here we either have just a sign saying that, hey, there's a railroad crossing here, or you got crossing gates. Whereas what I've seen over in Britain, sometimes you got the crossing where it's normally like this, but then when that train comes, they turn around and they make it so it crosses it winds up crossing this way, so the train can go through. Plus 125 working on the main line. Yeah, the United States is not really up to high speed rail. They only have one spot which is between Boston and DC. That's the only place where they go over 100 miles per hour. I think in the United States there's a if you search for it, it's the New York Central Black Beetle, which I guess holds the speed record for the fastest rail vehicle in the United States, and that was back in the 60s. Basically, they took an RDC unit, which is a self-propelled rail car. That this was an RDC 3, so it had a passenger section and it also had a post office section. I think it was also possibly a little bit smaller than the average RDC 1, which was an all-passenger unit. So since this had a working section in there, they could shorten it up a little bit. And from what I understand, and then they turned around and they just they literally, after adding a streamline. Yes, with the jet engine, I was just about to say, they just slopped a couple of jet engines on the roof, and away they went. And just basically to prove the concept of, we can have high speed rail in the United States, but they never went anything farther than that. I would say right now the only place you'll actually see high-speed rail is on the Northeast Corridor, because that's the only place where the Amtrak actually owns the trackage. Everything else is freight service, and freight doesn't care about how fast things go. It's like they're just they want to just move miles of freight cars. And if that interrupts the passenger service, well, railroads haven't been interested in passenger service ever since the personal vehicle and airlines took over. Once that happened and all that, it's like, this is not, it wasn't, from what I understand, it wasn't profitable to begin with. Mainly because, well, you can't have passengers as dense as freight. You can fill up a boxcar right to the roof and all that, and basically almost Tetris it together and all that. You can't really do that with passengers; they get grumpy. And that was I think that was another thing. It's like actually, I think a lot of companies now, it's like they rather deal company to company than actually dealing with customers, because customers are, they're not, they don't do what they're told. And I think that's why a lot of companies are also getting rid of employees, because, they want just the machine just to do what needs to be done and don't question anything. But that's my opinion on that. Well, tonight, I'm still working on regauging the locomotive. It works, but it's not a very hello there, Russ. Thank you for coming in. It's a recipe for disaster. Because it's like if you wind up replacing all the people, so all the company is basically all machines. Who's going to buy the stuff that they're making? It was not the Luddites that would turn around and historically destroy the machines and all that, because it would take away their work. That was sort of foreshadowing, I think. Not necessarily, I used to work for a company called Abacus Automation, which added automation to production lines. But the thing is that it wound up at the time, which was around, I was there during September 11th. It was at the time when they would, history repeating itself. But what had happened, what was happening at that time. So yeah, you wind up eliminating people off the assembly line, but then all of a sudden you're making so much stuff, they had to hire more people to keep up with the machine. And that's what a lot of machines, I think a lot of the 20th century, that's what it was. It's like, yes, things were automated, they were getting more and more automation, but they need to keep people feeding the machine to turn around and, make higher and higher output. And that was great up until it got to a point where they started connecting the machines together as an assembly line. Take for instance, when you see assembly line for Tesla, it's all robots. There's not a single person in the picture. I know somebody that they work with assembly lines in China that build cars, and basically they got, if I remember correctly, once they get everything up and running properly, for the during a shift, there's maybe, I want to say 15 people, 20 people running the entire plant. And it's one of those things of, those 20 people might be very highly paid, because it's like, if something shuts down, that's money that's being lost per second. And that's why a lot of I don't know if they're making EVs. I do know there were Volvos, because I guess there was a Japanese company that bought Volvo, I guess, during that time. So now Volvo, I may or may not be right on this, but I think Volvo is now a Japanese company or brand. But yeah, it's one of those things of, they're even doing it in China, where they're building factories that are massive, putting out a lot of stuff and all that, but not many people there to actually be there. Another one is, let's see. But there's also a lot of things that, when I went to ITT Tech to learn electronics, they didn't teach soldering. It's one of those things of, we'll just pull out the circuit board, put a new one in. Don't even bother to basically don't bother to repair stuff. Over in China, they were still having people to physically solder stuff together. I do not know if that's the case now, but I remember, I think at the time they were actually having colleges specifically how to solder, and also how to I want to say, Russ, I hope not. But one of the things now, currently being unemployed, I am looking for work, and there's I happen to realize today, when I'm coming back from church services, there's a lot of signs that says, "Hey, help wanted, we're hiring." But they're fast food places, or what was another one? What was retail outlets, and what they're doing now. And right now, I'm working for a fast food place. That what they are doing is that, they have a. I was always warned about, be very worried about a company that has a permanent help wanted sign. And the thing is, yeah, low skilled work. It's like I got a job. I know how to. I went to college for electronics, and admittingly, the where I'm living right now, that's not a very high. There's not that much high tech places around in where I'm at. I mean, if I moved an hour away, either southeast or north, I probably would have more opportunity. In fact, there's a couple of times that I've went to look for jobs, preferably straight north, mainly because I'll still be in Vermont. If I go southeast, I'll go wind up going into New York, and New York has a higher higher living standards, but that's also that the higher living standards are also higher taxes and some things. I want to say there are some things that are lower, but the insurance is higher. It's like there's a lot of things that are a lot higher just traveling. I almost want to say 10 miles that way behind the camera, because I'm pointing west. I'm not sure if it will destroy the society. One of the misquote things of Charles Darwin is, it's survival of the fittest. And the thing is that was his first observation when he realized that, hey, there's a thing called evolution, and this is how evolution works. Later on, and the thing is, once he saw that initial observation, that made sense because he didn't look over time. He just made the assumption that the fittest is the one that survives the most. It wasn't until after he looked at it after a long period of time, which I forgot exactly what it was, but he had revised what his theory, and that is it is the survival of. I'm trying to think what it is, but it's basically the survival of the. I'm blanking on what it is, but I want to say agile. So, say if the survival of the fittest is usually considered strong and all this, that, and etc. But the thing is, it's the one who's most agile. That's why you wind up with most of the rich people now. It's species can adapt, correct, and it's the most adaptable species that continues. There is a part where there was a moth, I think in London, that they were white moths, and they perfectly camouflaged up against I'm not sure if they're birch trees, but they're a tree with white bark, and they would land on the bark, and you couldn't see them. They disappeared into the bark. But every now and then there was a mutation of they would have black. One would be born black, and the black ones, it's like, hey, they stick out like a sore thumb, so they were constantly being eaten. And then what had happened was, when London industrialized and all the soot got into the air, they wound up making all the trees and everything else black. Then all of a sudden, the white moths are now the ones that are like, hey, it's like there's that wind up being easy targets, and the black ones blended in with the sooty trees. And then all of a sudden, the population wound up reverting, inverting itself. Basically, all of a sudden now the black ones are surviving like crazy, and the white ones are not. And then what had happened is that then they started doing basically realizing, wow, we can't really have all this nasty air. We need to clean it up and all that. So they wound up, like the environmental laws in the United States, started cleaning it up, and London wasn't looking like Los Angeles. Yes, Victorian was pretty crappy, and then once they as that changed. I'm sort of kind of there because I got laid off early June, and if it wasn't for help from my church, there's a good chance I would be probably homeless at least by the end of the year. I'm not quite sure which month it would be, but I'm right now I'm going through all the local food stores and all that. I'm trying not to spend that much money on food or gas, but basically what I'm doing right now, one thing I do need, let's see, I don't have what I'm doing right now. I don't have the right wheel puller. This is wheel puller number 1. I need 2 because that's a larger size. I can do O and S scale. This can do HO and N. But I'm getting away by this because I can't. Oh, yes, I understand that the antivirus is going to disappear on me. Let's go there. But I am blessed. I've never been homeless. I'm doing my best to stay that way. Because unfortunately, I don't have a massive amount of crap, but I got crap. And I would have to find some way to. Actually, I probably should go through a lot of things and try to, release, instead of hoarding it, turn around and going like, hey, I got a thing. It's useful to somebody. Go ahead and take it. But yeah, especially during when they had the housing crisis here in the United States, they had, you had all these investment firms and contractors, building houses. And someone I forgot who it was, but they figured out that they could turn around with all the empty buildings and houses and all that. They could turn around and house all the homeless in the country. But they didn't because, well, that's, that is not profitable. And that's profit at, to me, profit at all costs is going to wind up. And the thing is that what is it now? I remember hearing somewhere, forgot where it was, but it's like, it's hurting everybody. Even the multi-billionaires and all that, insert whoever that is. They're not happy either, because, that constant drive of, oh, we need more. And it's like, and for what? Money in itself is a made-up value. It's what we agree upon of what money is worth. And to me personally, there's times that money is worthless to me. For example, we about 50 miles from me, there's an Aldi's, and that's where I usually go. Because that's the one I could afford. Everybody else is a little bit too expensive for me. There's for the same exact product, Aldi's is cheaper for the same exact product, same brand name and everything. It's Aldi's is cheaper. But the thing is that they have carts, and you need a quarter to get a cart, which is okay. It's like you bring it back, and you can get a quarter. Not necessarily your quarter back, but you get a quarter back, which is fine if you have a quarter. There was so far there's only been one time where I did not have a quarter. I had 2 dimes and a nickel, which is 25 cents, but that doesn't fit into the thing. So I had to go inside, go through the cash register. It's like, I got 25 cents, gotta have a quarter. And they're like, yeah, sure. And then not only that, what if you have no change? I mean, there's times that, I came from the bank, I got all 20s, but, luckily I also would have a quarter. I think after the pandemic, people are a little bit more free in letting people have a cart. It's like, here, have a cart. It's like, here's the 20. Yeah, banks foreclosed on people, kicked them out, and they just let the building sat. And since nothing has been being repaired, that's interesting. Your last comment, Russ, did not go. Oh, it's at Top Chat instead of. Yeah, this Top Chat stuff is annoying. Yeah. Yeah, I never figured out exactly what. I got on a Facebook today, which is something I have been rarely doing, and it's one of those things that I asked a question a while ago. It's like, well, why is Facebook constantly doing the top comments thing instead of your normal? It's like, just have it. When I first got onto Facebook, it was all. It wasn't top comments and all comments. It was all comments. There was no comments along the way or whatever top comments. And it's one of those things of why to me it makes no sense. And then it's like they explain they want the top comments because they want you engaged, and it's like whatever's the most engaged that winds up being a top comment. But yeah, I'm getting to the point of being, why am I on Facebook anymore? And it's just basically one of the interesting things now is that depending on what I'm doing, whatever hobby I'm doing, depends on which program I'm using. Mostly with Discord is mostly right now everything that's model train related. All right, Andy. What was it now? I got a bunch of friends that are, I'm not into cybersecurity, but they are. So there's, so I've been hanging out with them for, I want to say maybe about a year before the pandemic hit. And they're on Signal. I'm trying to think what some of the other. It's like depending on what hobby, depends on which one I'm on. Yeah, which makes it's like so it makes it nice because if something comes up, program says this, I can oh, okay, this is this group. Facebook is with a group that I'm slowly starting to go away from. It was something my sister introduced me with it, and One now that I'm out of the area where all the local group was at, um, it's the Society of Creative Anachronism, and every Thursday they would have a dance practice that was nearby. They had it in Troy. Now they have it over in Schenectady. Troy's an hour away from me. Schenectady is an hour and 45. And it's one of those things of I could theoretically go still do the dancing, because that's the part that I like doing the most. Haven't really been able to dance since coming to Vermont, because I moved to Vermont just as the pandemic was hitting, so everything was being closed. But now that everything's opened up and all that, trying to the nearest dancing that I've been able to find is, I want to say, 45 minutes away, and it's once a month in North Adams, Massachusetts. That's one of the dancing is a hobby that I don't plan on filming. Just to be respectful for other people. It's more of a multiple people thing. There is times I'm thinking about adding electronics and other things that you're building stuff and all that. So this would be sort of a building channel. But right now, since I've started, I've been concentrated mostly on model railroads. But I am. Any troubles with illegals in your town? Not that I'm aware of. But then again, Arlington, Vermont's small. Small and very, very white. I think it might have changed since I've moved. Basically the census, things might have changed and all that. But it was when I looked at the Wikipedia article when I moved here, it was 98% white. Hello there, Andy. I don't think anything major came along. But Russ just asked if there was any illegals in my town, but I extremely doubt. There is a convenient. That's the thing is that it's a very small town. I can if I put my I want to say if I put my mind to it, I could probably walk every single sidewalk in 2 hours. I've done it. I want to say I've done half in an hour, both directions. I've done, one day I did the one section, the west side, basically within an hour, and then I did the east side, which goes all the way to East Arlington. Again, it's I'm in a spot where apparently I'm right in the midpoint of the sidewalks. But we only there's only, I want to say, 2 gentlemen that operate one of the convenience stores, and they're obviously not American. I do not know what country they're from. I've never asked. But I've never had no trouble with them. It's like, here's my stuff. Da, 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 da. It's like, here's the money, here's the change, and away we go. Now, from what I understand, Bennington, which is the biggest town in Bennington County, I guess they have trouble there, but I don't know the specifics. I know for a fact that if I hear a shot at home, if I'm hearing a shotgun or weapons going off, they're hunting. And maybe a poor deer or other game animal, is no longer is now food. From what I understand, in Bennington, it might not be. But as far as I know, there's Arlington itself. I'm trying. I'm actually trying to think exactly what the biggest illegal thing here in Arlington is. I want to say speeding, maybe that. I haven't heard of anything that has to do with stealing, or I haven't really heard of anything that has to do with crime at all. But then again, I'm pretty sheltered. I just have to realize something. I've been babbling a lot tonight, and I want to get at least something started. All right, let's see. We'll go to settings, switch the cameras. All right. One of the things I wound up doing was, I think it was earlier this year, I wound up buying a bunch of, it was H&S, which is, basically makes brass pieces and all that. And it was like bags. It was like a bag of stuff. So you had all this different, like this is all different tubing, but also there's also solid ones. These I got them so they got relatively sliding in and out of each other. This is the I figured out this is the size of what an HO scale freight axle is. And then when it comes to this over here, again, I got something that's tubular and there's a burr on it. But basically the same thing with these where I grabbed the wrong one. All right. Of course, now that I want something to show you what I'm doing. All right. Here's a piece of aluminum. But yeah, I got pieces of aluminum, copper, not much in copper and aluminum, but a lot of brass. And there's a lot of stuff that after I sorted them out. So this is the size of what I found out, which this is 1/8, which is basically the diameter of the driving axles, and this is 1/16, which is the diameter of the I guess we'll call all the other axles, and so I wound up just recently going through all that, figuring out which ones are which. I have not put them in their appropriate bin. I got one of the from Aldi's. I got one of the bins that have a lot of different sizes on there, which is just below the under the thing. But yeah, and the interesting thing is sometimes they not only have different sizes, sometimes they have, this one has a square tubing of different lengths, not as much as the round tubing. But there's also specially shaped. Let's see if I can find specially shaped drawer. That's 5 pieces. Yep. And the thing is, every now and they have some specialty pieces, which are, a lot of them are sort of like airfoils, like these. Here's a sort of a 6-pointed star setup, which is interesting. I have no idea how to use that. Here's a piece where I'm not sure which direction it was going, but as you see, one side is square tubing, the other side is round tubing, and you can see right here where the transition is. So I don't know if how stuff is. I mean, this looks more stretched than this side, so I don't know if they wound up doing square tubing and making it round. I don't know if they make it that way, but yeah, it's basically you wind up getting a pound of different sizes. Some of the size, I think the longest size is maybe about 6 inches, but sometimes you have a lot more one particular size than another. But it's actually nice to grab a whole set, or grab one of these things of random stuff and all that, and then you have stuff that you can, instead of buying one size of every single thing. Oh, hello there, Dave. Thank you for coming in. All right, let's see now. But my idea for this is this somewhat works, but every now and then the thing gets jammed and this goes all the way to the side. So my thought process is to turn around and let's take the motor off. Screw back in. Excuse me. And what I plan on doing is probably measure the center drivers. All right, let's go to that. 137.5, 146. Now the thing is that I think I might have to try to figure out exactly how to measure this. Basically, I want to measure both sides. I mean, technically, I probably should be. What I should be doing is, this is the main bearing that is underneath these two sides, and basically taking that and making it long enough to turn around and make the bearing all one piece instead of doing 3 pieces. However, I do not believe I have the capacity to do so. Same thing, these are the main bearings that go between here, and lengthen them up so they would be long enough to, technically I can probably take one of these bearings and do that, but I have nothing to do this as one full length, and not quite sure how to do that. I don't probably would require a press to sort of squeeze them off to the side. But that's something I do not have at this time, or that I'm aware of. But knowing exactly, we might have to do some math here. All right. Yep, nylon spacers. That would probably work well also. I do not have nylon, so this is why I'm going the brass route. Or nylon, or insert whatever plastic we have, because being unemployed, I'm just trying to use what I have as what I have on hand to get stuff done. Plus, so also, since this is my first locomotive doing this, there's going to be challenges along the way. I'm sort of kind of thankful that the crossheads, all I had to do was sort of like bend. These are normally straight or at a 90-degree angle, and I bend it at 45 for clearance. So that works out. And I also put normally the crosshead is on the inside, but it seems to work fine on the outside. So this is an experiment. Let's see. Thankfully, I do have to cut what I want for bearings, a tubing cutter, which I need a smaller one. Oh, hello there, Trackside 77. Thank you for coming in. Okay. So first we're going to turn around and measure what a bearing is. So it winds up being 0.5120. That's how much the bearing is. Now we need the back-to-back. The back-to-back on this is. It looks like I might have to take the actual wheel set out so we can actually measure it. So, take these out. There. All right. All right, so we got 6.69 6, 5. Add those together. Let's see, what's the other one? That's a 7, so. But wait a second, that makes sense. Yeah. At first, no, that doesn't make sense. Because if I remember correctly, the axle length itself is under an inch. Adding these two is over an inch. Oh well. Yeah, it's one of those things I got to figure out how am I going to make this? I don't know yet. Adding these two together, we will get a 5, 8. Now, here's the silly question. How much is the actual full? Yeah, that makes no sense. Yeah, that's not even an inch yet. Mathematically, we come up over an inch. So I'm not sure what I'm measuring wrong. How much is the bearing that's actually being used on this? Yeah, it's only a 1/10 off. So, okay, I'm confused. Is this supposed to be minus instead of plus? That might make more sense. Yeah, it's minus. All right, so we got the 06965. 0.5120 minus that is 5. That winds up being 16. So it's 7. 0. All right. So we minus that. So that should go down to, what does that look like? 179. I saw it there briefly. I'm going to keep on overcorrecting. Well, let's say that's close enough. So we got 2, and then we have to divide it by 2. Yeah, that's what I did wrong. I was supposed to subtract it. Then we divide that by 2. Divide by 2. And you get 5. You get 9, so it's like 4, 4, 5, 7. Half of 7 is 3. 3, 5, that's 9. And that's 0. Another 5, so 8. 0.857. Now let's go and even 9. Sort of like round up. And it's one of those things of, it's nicer to round up instead of down. All right, so that's that. And I have actually not thought this far in advance exactly how I'm going to do this. So oh, that's interesting. I was wondering why this has a internal crimp on it. And this is actually rolled that way. This is not like the other ones where it's not like these where I'm not sure what they use and all that, but these are not. These are extruded in one piece. These look like that they're round and then folded over and all that because there's a seam right there, which they did not do with the aluminum. The aluminum, there's no seam with the aluminum. So I might not be able to use the brass ones, even though I got a lot more of them. But well, I got to figure out how to make these without crimping them. But that might be something for a different day. And yeah, pretty much. It's one of those things of that's what engineering. Good portion of engineering is. It's if you look at different machinist channels, they're always doing math, but a lot of times they're doing in their head. They got the math done behind the scenes. There is one of the ones that I watch is Blondie Hacks, and Blondie Hacks measure twice, cut once. And it's one of those things of, gee, I cut this thing 3 times and it's still too short. Yeah, Blondie Hacks. If you really want to get dived into the details, she is building if I remember correctly, a 5-inch gauge live steam locomotive. And she's doing everything from scratch. She's built the boiler. She's built the tender, which is the tender is complete. Right now she's building the mechanism. I think the last thing she's done was the side rods. And it's a long project. Every now and then she has to do a side project to build a tool that she needs to build a part. And she's using I can't think of his whole name, but it's Kozo. Someone from over in Japan that came out with a book of here's how you build an A1 an A3A Pennsylvania switcher. in 5-inch scale, live steam, and apparently she also has a local nearby model train club where she can actually run it after everything's up and running, which is sort of neat in itself. There is, as far as I know, there's like two 7.25 inch, or no, not quarter inch, 7.5 inch gauge railroads that are, I almost want to say 45 minutes away from me in opposite directions. One's almost directly east, the other one's almost directly west. But the one is an actual club that has their own. They're not really quite advertising their location because they don't want to be overrun by people that are just like, "Ooh, this looks cool and all that. Let's go see it." Instead of going like, someone that actually, okay, I want to actually help out building, because it's what that is a team effort. The other one is a privately owned railroad, which it's more live electric than live steam, but that's something that's basically one person is doing that on his own property. But he has his own YouTube channel, which is Millbrook Valley. So if you want, thank you, Dave. Yeah, it's. I affectionately call this show the unauthorized Sidetrack Sunday pre-show. Tonight is John from the Schuylkill Valley Railroad. So I usually take off maybe about 15 minutes before they start, mainly for people to get up and do things like they need to grab something to drink, or if they need to go to the bathroom or something like that. So that's why I'm at 6:45 to 7:45, just to give people that a rest. It's like going from one live stream right to another. You don't have to do what like Andy did and say Schuylkill Valley Railroad when drunk. I probably could because I live near Schenectady, and that's why Schuylkill is very similar to Schenectady. So, well, hello, Russ. Welcome back. And yeah, it's one of those things that's why I let off early so people can do human things between live shows. And tonight is you can't say it's sober. Yeah, here's the thing: the Schenectady is a Dutch translation of an Iroquois word, and the name it translates to "place beyond the pines." And that's what the name Schenectady is, but it started out as Schenectady started out as a Dutch word because at the time that it was named, it was controlled by the Dutch, and then eventually the English kicked the Dutch out, and they turned around and had to use English lettering instead of Dutch lettering, which is slightly different. So that's how they came out with Schenectady. And it's also it also takes a while to figure out how to spell the damn thing. There's also a song named for that. It's like it was like 1956, I want to say. It's like you can't spell Schenectady, and it goes through all the other Dutch derived words that town names that are out there, like Poughkeepsie. That's the one that comes up the top of my head. But yeah, it's like this, but I can't spell Schenectady. it's sort of with novelties on. But well, everyone, I guess this is going to be it for tonight. I guess I'll see anyone over at the Schuylkill Valley River Railroad. Probably right now is getting set up. I do not know what he's up to. I think he's just ended. He just ended a project, which was the diner. So I do not know where it is. You're very welcome, Andy. And thank you for brightening my morning this morning, because Andy has a yeah. You can't spell Iroquois. There's no X in it. Yeah, I think I almost want to say Iroquois is because it has the koi on the end. I'm not sure if that was influenced by the French, which is not that far away from here. In fact, Vermont is sort of not quite good spelling of Vermont, which translates to Green Mountain. Hence why Vermont's called the Green Mountain State. not very original. But way back when it was actually going to be called New Connecticut. But I guess they came up to the idea. It's like instead of having Connecticut, New Connecticut, that might cause confusion. Let's try something different. But they don't know why Vermont is not misspelled. Because green is vert, so it's missing a T if you want to translate it correctly. But no one knows why the T was dropped. But all right, everybody. My outro is that I believe the world needs more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around. Bye.